Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
I'm Rick.
And today we're talking about Mashel, Magic and Muscles, which was a recommendation from CJ with Anime Anonymous, Jeb, and his wonderful magical world, and of course, Goose. But before all that, we were talking about the moon, had a really weird question for you all, and talked about a couple of recent events that actually happened. If you want to hear that larger conversation and help support us, help us grow, you can go to patreon.com/featured anime podcast. $8 a month will get you access to that bonus content. And of course, you can also, being the wonderful time of year that's coming up, Valentine's Day, you also want to try and get yourself some nice, delicious treats. Tokyo Treats is right there. We have an affiliate link for you in the show notes. If you use coupon code Featured Anime, not only do you get $5 off that very first box, but you also get some nice, delicious treats to have with that certain special someone, or by yourself if you don't have a certain special someone. You can just sit there and gorge on the whole box. That's totally acceptable too. Of course, also we have a couple affiliate links for you for Crunchyroll as well. If you click on those links, it does help us grow as well. And of course, all the information and links and everything else is available on our website at featuredanimepodcast.com. And now onto the meat and potatoes. Mashel, Magic and Muscles originally came out in April 2023, ran all the way through July 2023. It is 12 episodes long, produces for our Aniplex, Asatsu, DK, just to name a couple of them. Studio for it is A1 Pictures. It's based off of a manga. The genres are action, comedy, and fantasy and parody. Yes, it is 12 episodes long, in case I did not already say that. Basically, Mashel, Magic and Muscles is largely just a combination, as what Jeb says for the recommendation. It is basically One Punch Man meets Harry Potter, where we are in a world where magic is the reigning supremacy, though. So instead of magicians living in hiding and having their own super special secret world, they have dominance over everything. Magic is a way of life. You do everything with magic. It is by proxy everything and anything to them. Now, we have our main character, Mash, who actually does not have magic. Well, he gets found out at the beginning of episode 1, basically, as we all know. And his goal, so that way he can live a peaceful life with his adoptive father, he must actually become a divine visionary, which is the end all be all ultimate magical person, which is ordained by the god of that world, so to speak, in their eyes. And so if he can become a divine visionary, he will in effect be basically be accepted by the world and not have magic, which is unheard of. This story is how he is trying to muscle his way through every feat possible, while also at the exact same time trying to not get found out that he doesn't actually have any magic. I mean, I feel like that's a basic rundown of it.
It's close. My only addition would be hilarity. Hilarity ensues everywhere. Comedic relief is 99% of this. Well, 90% of it. And then 10% you're like, ugh, tugging at your heartstrings. I wasn't prepared for that.
Okay.
We're not all heartless, sir.
I mean, I didn't really see too much. I mean, like, I'm not sure about the heartstrings tugged. I feel like they may have tried to do it, but it just was not deep enough or in depth enough for it to really hit that. I mean,
I can appreciate that.
I mean, it's a comedy. Its whole purpose is comedy and fantasy. It's a parody of basically Harry Potter in and of itself. CJ even says in our chat says this was a comedy. Where are the heartstrings? And and to clarify the heartstrings, I feel like I know where Rick is going to go with it. I genuinely do. It's the background story for a couple of the characters where I feel like you're going to go for the heartstrings, but there's not enough emotional depth. There's no building or an emotional connection to the characters for you to really kind of hit those points where you can just feel for them. Personally, that's what I think.
I mean, I suppose I could see where you're coming from with that. It just, I don't know. The way I saw it, it wasn't supposed to be. I get that. But the way that I looked it up, the way I looked at it was interesting because everyone's got a sad story. Everyone's got a reason for being.
Yeah.
And we also have the main character who is just
oblivious to everything. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But at the exact same time, I kind of feel the same way as him. It's like, cool about your sob story. It doesn't really matter to me, you know. And so I'm glad he had that perspective instead of being a bleeding heart going, "Oh, I'm so sorry." He just brute forces his way through everything. Like, take the. Oh, we'll race on our magic broom. Oh, he's making it float, or you know, just everything else. This whole thing was just in my mind, a pure goofy, unadulterated action comedy where it just had fun and it didn't shy away from taking those moments or those points where they wanted to really kind of have that fun time with it. This was, in every sense of the word, in every sense to me, a parody, because they even had the houses and they had this thing that would automatically place you inside a house.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And when he thinks about it, he goes, "Oh yeah, that did happen," and they flash back to it. All he was thinking about, cream puffs. That's it. Just cream puffs. Nothing else but cream puffs. And so. I like that the unicorn's like, I pride myself. I know how to place everyone. Literally doesn't know how to place them and just blurts out, cream puff lovers go to Addle House.
Yeah. It was awesome. Yeah, it was good regardless. I think that we definitely had some lackluster moments, let's call it. Some bland moments. Well,
yeah.
And then other ones were just pure badassery.
Oh yeah. And
visually entertaining.
Yeah, it was great. I also liked the fact that you had one character that literally went around calling himself the main character and everyone else a side character. And people straight up called him out on it. I bet you're one of those guys that think you're the main character in a movie or something like that. Such a loser.
He's over here like, yeah. And
obviously, because it's true. Duh. But they you know, I'm glad that they had fun with it. I'm glad that every moment that it felt like it was getting too serious or it would be a really serious moment. This immediately exceeded my expectations, where it turned it into a comedy or it threw you off because you're like, oh yeah, I should have seen that coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I was happy that every single fight seemed to be I'm going to just do this and win. I'm going to do this and win. It wasn't, you could turn off your brain and still enjoy it kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at with it. It was nice. And I watched it. I'll watch it again. I would encourage other people to watch it. There are a few areas in here that I was impressed by the range. You know what I mean?
No.
Okay. The range of diversity in characters. As you said, there's a character who is convinced he's the main character, and there's nothing you can do to alter that, which is appreciate the confidence. There's another character who is a wimp, for lack of a better way to put it. Mash's roommate.
Finn.
Yeah. I have no idea what his actual magic ability is.
I would assume that it's probably close to his brothers.
You would assume, I didn't know if we were going to talk about his brother or not, so I was leaving that part vague. But the guy doesn't use magic, like hardly
Finn,
at all.
Yeah, you never see Finn use magic. And in fact, whenever someone uses magic, it is a specific magic attributed to one unique magic for them, for that family. And it's like, every family specializes in one type of magic, which is, I think, really weird that you're going to a magic school to learn about magic, but all anyone ever does is use one type of magic, right?
We got to figure.
I mean,
they're all very prideful.
They are very prideful, but at the exact same time, you would think that they would use other magic like a fireball, even though, or water or something like that, and not have it be the basis of their one single magic attribute. You know, that's what I'm getting at. So, and to put this, you have Lance. He only ever uses one magic type ever. Dot, the guy that thinks he's the main character, only uses one magic type ever. You never see what Lemon does or Finn, but since you've seen Finn's brother, you can assume that Finn has the exact same magic. So again, it's, you know, I mean, you're not really given left to really any interpretation as to, oh, we don't know what this person's particular magic type is because they only ever use one magic type. And their family only ever uses one magic type.
So what happens if you intermarry? Meaning, not inbreeding, but like, let's say the fire and the ice come together and
you inherit one or the other is what it ends up being, is what I'm gathering.
It wouldn't be a My Hero situation.
No, it wouldn't be that. No, it'd be an either or.
Okay. Well, I mean, so here's my thought process on that. Because of the pride, because of the I'm better than you and I come from a noble family, my magic is pristine, recognizable, just flat out better than everybody else's, regardless if it is or isn't. That they end up hyper focusing, trying to take their magic to the extreme. Because I imagine from everything we've seen, you have commoners who don't have a good magic affinity or a magic ability, and you have nobles who have supposedly excellent magic affinity and a pristine technique. So it'd be a pride of the family to only use that. It might be seen as a slight on the family if you decide to play with wind and you're a fire mage. You know what I mean? Even though you could combine fire and wind and make a flaming tornado, which would be awesome.
I didn't get that. I did get the class society thing, but that's always been like for them, that was always a thing. Even if their magic wasn't that great or magnificent, you know, they had their class. But even for the people that were commoners, it was the exact same thing. You only ever like Dot, you only ever saw one person. It wasn't that he was noble. He's a commoner, but he had that magic. They always played up I'm noble, I'm this and that and everything like that, but that didn't have anything to do with it. And you can take the double lines portion of it, and it's not a matter of them being born into a particular breed of people or anything like that, where nobles are given the second line or anything, because you saw plenty of nobles where they only had one line.
True. Well, here's my thought on that, though. If you'll notice, all the commoner magic, let's call it, nondescript. It doesn't have any defining features.
All the non-main character magic was nondescript and didn't play a pivotal point, because only time you ever saw magic was when it was direct conflict and it was its main or side character, right, or supporting character that played a pivotal point. As far as anyone else is concerned, was irrelevant. So you never got to see any of the magic.
I'll give you an example. The very first person we see using magic in this, in this show would be the grandpa. Not somebody of a distinct background. Obviously, we get his background and it's not amazing.
Right.
He's using magic for trinkets, for
a lot of people are using
tricks. A lot of people. Yes, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But The next person that is of note would be the guard, the commander, whatever, the one who was able to drive away a dragon with this attack. He didn't have any special characteristics to it. It was just a ball of energy and a bigger ball of energy. You know what I mean? Whereas everyone else has elements to it. Everyone else.
We don't know what his element was. His magic all looked the same, gave the same appearance for it. Okay. Everyone else had the exact same appearance for theirs as well. So it's not, again, they were, it's not that you can't base it off of an element alone. Because
it's not just an element. It was extremely nondescript. It looked like just a powerful blob of magic being lobbed, like a nondescript, neutral attack, so to speak. Whereas everyone we saw who was from a noble birth had elements tied to their stuff, or swords, or marionettes, or love.
Not everyone that you saw that had those special named attacks was of noble birth.
No, I agree, but like they were good enough to get into that school.
Not everyone that you saw had named attacks or of noble birth. Not everyone that you saw had named attacks or had noble birth.
But in order to get into that class or into that school, you had to pass an entrance exam. And from what I understood, I could be mistaken. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Everyone who was getting into that school had to become a noble.
No.
What brought you to that?
Like, when do they say that everyone that's in that school would become a noble?
I had the potential to, because even the side characters have named attacks.
Okay.
When you see them.
Right. But where are you getting that from?
Because magic affinity equals potential status. They said that numerous times. And I was just inferring if A equals A, then B should equal B. If magic affinity reflected social status, then good magic ability would affect potential status.
I don't remember that really being a core concept of it. But they also talked about double lines a lot, and they talked about the divine visionaries, and anyone could be a divine visionary.
Anybody in the school, yeah.
Yeah. Where you had to compete and have specific accomplishments to get these coins to eventually become a divine visionary candidate.
Yeah, you just basically had to stand out for a good reason. Not like, you burned down the school.
Yep.
More like, you brought the school a victory we weren't expecting. Thank you.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Because even if you have strong magic affinity, you can lose your noble birth or your placement in there if you are doing something really dumb or ignorant in that regard. But if you have and this is what I understood, right? Because take Lloyd, right? For example, he wasn't exactly of noble birth, but his father was a higher up in the Bureau of Magic,
which made him a noble of sorts.
Somebody
in power.
We had one of the main supporting characters with Mash's grandfather. He was formerly a part of the Magic Bureau.
Wait, repeat that?
The guy that's always with Mash's father, that guy.
Yeah.
He was a part of the Magic Bureau. It's not a matter of it being noble birth. It's a matter of like, hey, they're like the KGB. They make people disappear. They're like the secret police.
Okay. No, I mean, I get the reference. I get the comparison. I'm trying to formulate something in that, if I utter it, will make my point. I don't got it. You kind of stumped me on that one.
Through great accomplishments, yes, I will say this. I will agree with you on this. Through great accomplishments, you can become a noble. I'll concede to that. I mean, like, but that's true even in a non-magic society. If you have great accomplishments, you can become a noble.
Yeah, but this is a magic society.
Goose says, I'm wonder if Rick is confusing what the arrogant characters were saying as it's factual, whereas it was just them saying that's how it is because that's what they believed. but he can't quite remember enough to refute. It's been a minute since they watched it. And they said, of sorts, in quotes, you can say affluential, but I don't think that they were nobles, though, because they still fell under a kind of hierarchy, is what Goose is saying. But again, you know,
Okay.
like I was talking about earlier, that one kid that basically bullied his way through everything, even if you were a noble or status, is what I gathered, is because his father was part of the secret police and the head or higher up in the secret police. It's like, hey, doesn't matter. This is the way of the world. This is life.
Okay. Well, I mean, I wish I had something concrete to refute that with, but I don't.
What you're thinking of is the one house where they had the white robes. It was like the orcas or whatever it was. I forget what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, they did mention
house,
that, and they.
Yeah, that house largely pertained to people that viewed magic as a large status or as a primary point of status and everything else. That was
they're
like
also in charge of the government right now.
that particular house.
Yeah, like that. Those people are currently in the
They
majority.
Those people want to be, but you have a recent divine visionary that was appointed who is a part of the house Adel.
Yes, I guess so. I'm pulling my information from the principal,
right? The main guy, Magic Loop, for the Magi Lupus, or whatever they're calling themselves. He wants to be a divine visionary because he wants to implement strict laws and everything else. And it's not just him, and it's not just them. He wants to go a lot stricter because he feels like everyone's too lenient with him. CJ in our chat says they're not all nobles, but the nobles are trying to get rid of the commoners. That's the whole reasoning for the Lupus Guild group, etc. Right, which is largely what I was starting to lead up to, which is he wants to get rid of people. He doesn't just want to, because what I gathered is they don't kill all the people that don't have magic. They put them in a commune, a concentration camp or whatever. And they're exiled to live in that group. He just wants to straight up kill them. He wants to have a pure blood, strong bloodline of magic. And that's his whole goal, his whole hierarchy. He wants to get rid of commoners because his mother was killed by a commoner.
I mean, it's understandable how they would have such a skewed view like that. But going back to it, yeah, I thought that they were murdered. They weren't that the non-magics were murdered. I didn't know that they were. No, I did know because they did mention it like 3/4 of the way through the anime that you need to have it to where instead of being exiled, they'll be taken care of permanently because you don't want to poison the gene pool.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Exactly. So,
no, I just.
And again, I mean,
go ahead.
Also, just to reinforce that people that are in there, right, are commoners because Mash is not a noble. He is very much a commoner.
But he's got backing.
He not from anyone in particular. He just straight up applied. They don't even know who the other guy is when they see him.
No, I agree. You're allowed to apply, but getting through is a whole other story. Remember, they had that interview.
Yes.
He was going to fail that interview with the exception of the principal. And then later on, he was almost forcefully expelled. And the principal was like, nah, fam, I run this.
That's not why he got into the school, though, primarily. He got into the school because he passed the interview test for sure, yes. And others were like, I don't think that's really a great idea.
And then the principal essentially pushed him through via a rather... I'm going to call it interesting test. I think it was more torturous, but it showed character. And the principal was like, we need more of that character. Yeah.
And again, we don't know what the conditions for them failing the entry exam or failing the interview is. He's not testing them on particular magic. It's an interview. It's a questionnaire. Right. So
I think they were testing him in particular on the questionnaire, and everyone else was kind of on magic because he was the only one that got the interview like that.
He's the only one that we saw. We don't know anyone else, but he did come up and said, hey, as far as the magic portions of it, he already went past and passed all the other magic portions. It was down to the interviews. And he even said, it's an interview, not a demonstration, interview. They already passed all the other magic portions of it. made the rock levitate, ran across water, made it out of the maze, dispelled the paper for the test.
Yeah.
Okay. So he already passed the magic portion of it.
Through sheer will and determination.
Yeah.
So you think he was more of a charity's not the right way to put it, but more of a
he
an
passed,
outlier?
Yeah, he is an outlier. Yeah, for sure. But he definitely passed the interview. He
passed the interview. That was in my mind the only thing that really helped him.
Yeah, but he's there's nothing else to like really prevent him. He passed all the other portions of it, and that's what the guy was upset about, and that's why it's like, we've had enough of your shenanigans. We're gonna go ahead and pass, or not pass, but do the interview, and I'll conduct the interviews because he already did the magic portions of it. He already passed it. I mean, like literally, he comedically brute forced his way through the whole magic portion of it. It's like no human strength can break that spell. Breaks it. It's like how can I even read what it is if you don't stop moving around? Crushes the pen, immediately stops moving, and solves. Puts it all in the right order. It's like it solves itself. It's like So
yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. It was funny. I liked it. Personally, I think it was worth the time spent. I think that given everything that we saw, the answers were not nearly as straightforward as I was expecting, while at the same time being bland. Very, very bland. Like when you see him solve one problem, you've seen him solve them all. That said, I still want to watch him solve the rest of them.
Well, you already know the premise, even from episode 1, the premise of it, right? And even from the title, Muscles of Magic, right? You know, he's just going to brute force himself all the way through it. That it's not a matter of him doing that. It's one, how is he going to do that? And in what ridiculous fashion is it going to have? Like, take the whole Quidditch style match, right? The dude's flying in the air, but not the way you're expecting it. And he also wins the game, but not quite the way you were originally thinking of it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Curveball. CJ
on it.
CJ says they aren't bland. He uses physical strength to solve everything. And it's just like with Naruto, his power of friendship and ninja way will always carry him.
His ninjutsu.
So, I mean, I'd have to agree with CJ on that, man. It's not bland. It's comedic how he chooses to try and solve everything through it. And on top of that, even when he doesn't use brute force strength to try and solve the issues, it still ends up being in a comedic way.
True. I can give you that. Yeah, that's true.
All right. I don't have too much more, sir. How about you?
I mean, and essentially ruining what could be a fantastic show. You know what I mean? Like there's some spoiler war that we can get into. There's some, that's a good way to put it. Spoiler warnings. What I will say, and CJ just reiterated this in a very good way. The man is a chronic cream puff addict. I thought it was quite funny that he used mandrake root somehow and made cream puffs out of them, and delicious ones at that, from what everyone was saying.
Yeah. Man, I mean, like, basically, and this is true too. Goose says this in our chat. Every time the situation gets heavy, cream puff. Exactly. And they even pointed out too, it's like, man, you got to read the room. It's like, you shouldn't have a cream puff in your jacket. Like, why is it in there? That's not sanitary. So it's great though. It is hilarious. Yeah, not without going into too much spoilers or anything like that. I think this is a great spot to leave off on. Honestly, it's a great comedy. It's funny. The development for the character is actually really well done. Leaves off on a semi of a cliffhanger too, but luckily there is a season 2. So, and you know, honestly, there's a lot. Like, besides him being a cream puff addict, he's not exactly either the smartest person in the room, and he also has a hard time lying too.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think he has a hard time lying. He just doesn't.
When he lies, he stutters.
I guess I was thinking like it wasn't a true lie so much as it was just him trying to be like, but still, and okay. So yeah, I guess a lie of omission, a lie that I didn't see. Yeah, that makes sense. It was a lie.
Yeah, it's a lie. And Goose also points this out: the worst crime to Mashel is cream puff being wasted.
Abuse.
Abuse. Cream puff abuse, because as soon as it hits the ground, there's no hearts bowl. You know, I mean, like, dude goes out, but he does have a heart of gold. He does have that too.
Yes, he does.
So, and everything that he does, he's doing because he just wants a peaceful life with his dad.
You can't fault a guy for that.
True. All right. I got nothing else to really say, sir. How about you?
I'm unfortunately right there with you.
All right. So on a scale of up to 10, sir, how would you rate this?
For me, this is a solid. It's a 7. It's not something that I would immediately go for, but it is something that I would like to watch again.
Okay.
Something that I would definitely be like, you should totally.
So what are the down points? Like, why are you going further down on it? What are the negatives? The draw?
Because everything seemed to be kind of a ripoff.
I mean,
like
the part of it being a parody wasn't a
no. Like, so parody, I get a straight ripoff, like from 4 different animes that seemed to almost be like copyright. One of the people has a wand that turns into a whip that is nothing but vines. Another guy has explosion as his mantra, essentially. Yeah, like I envision this as being a parody to Harry Potter. And I think it was Goose that had mentioned it before, Hercules in Harry Potter. And while yes, that was there, it just seemed like seemed very wow, I'm getting roasted in the comments.
Yeah.
Oh. Yes, but bro Suba, absolutely he does, because I've never seen anything like that before.
Which is a parody on a lot of shows as well.
I guess the reason I liked that one more than this one was simply because I've
TNA?
never seen a parody before. No.
TNA.
CJ was incorrect on this one.
There is
some,
more
sure.
TNA in Konosuba than there is in this, and there is none in this.
Okay. I mean, it could contribute. I don't know. I don't think it does, but you know, if you see parallels.
So you're giving it a 7.
I'm giving it a 7, yeah.
Because you're not a big fan of parodies, unless it's
I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of. I know what's going to happen, regardless of what happens. There's no new outcomes. There's no new blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Like his quirk, let's call it, was the fact that he doesn't have magic, but for some reason he also heals super fast. He had a sword straight through his whole stomach, and it was an instant done, like healed. He had a bunch of cuts that didn't appear again. He had a bunch of injuries that just didn't happen. And yeah.
He still had the cuts on him. And as far as the cut is concerned, he was in his bodysuit when he received it. So he was wearing clothes, but he also decided to, while he had that cut or skewer moment, do something very miraculous. So we don't know exactly what's like carried through, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's a Hunter x Hunter-esque answer where I crimp my muscles around the skin to staunch the bleeding.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, I'll go ahead. I'll leave you with your 7. I'll give it a 9. I enjoyed it a lot. I watched it a couple of times. It was fun. It was enjoyable. I had a great time laughing throughout the whole series. The voice actors were really well done. The music for it was killer. I enjoyed the music for it. Opening, ending, music in the show, everything like that. All of that. So it was a great show. The only thing that kind of keeps it from that perfect score is, one, while I know there is a second season, it leaves off on a crazy cliffhanger where luckily they did have a season 2 come out. Also, at the exact same time, I am not a fan of how short it was. I would have loved a longer run. It would have been far better, in my opinion, had we gone into more and explored a little bit more of those nuances along that line. But those are my only two real gripes. Next week we're going to be talking about Mashel season 2 because we watched season 1. Why not watch season 2? Just go straight into it, right? So if you feel like we did too much justice, not enough justice, or any point in between, or if you want to reach out to us, feel free to reach out to us. All our contact information is on featuredanimepodcast.com. And of course, if you want to talk to us while we're recording and everything like that, and then watch Rick get roasted for some pretty flaming comments that he had apparently for this show.
You don't even know. I'm reading paragraphs of just.
All right. So feel free to join
bullying,
us.
Let's call it.
No, it's justice is what it is. But regardless of the matter,
sweet justice.
Feel free to join us on twitch.tv/featuredanimepodcast. And until next time, I'm Jack.
I am Rick, and we'll see you next time.